Step into the enchanting world of Caitlin, a native New Mexican and spiritual surrealist painter whose art serves as a profound vehicle for communication and connection. Join us as we explore Caitlin's evolution through navigating relationships, spirituality, ideology, and imagination. Discover how she captures the beauty of nature's repetition and delves into its deeper meaning. Prepare to embark on a journey of vulnerability and open dialogue as Caitlin invites this audience into her artistic process. Welcome to Happiness on Tap podcast, where guests dive deep into the vulnerable experiences that contribute to their happiness. I'm Leanne Herron, certified health and life coach, owner of Finding Resilience with Leanne, and creator and host of this podcast. This episode is part of our entrepreneur series. This series will include tips and tools from each guest on their struggles and obstacles and lessons learned along their entrepreneur journey that will help provide valuable information to help save you time and your sanity. So sit back and listen to the end. Thank you for joining us for Unveiling the Soul's Canvas, Caitlin's journey of connection and vulnerability through spiritual surrealism. Hello, Caitlin. Thank you so much
Hello.
for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited. So far on the ones that I've heard of yours, there's a high bar. So I hope I make it.
Oh, thank you so much. Caitlin is a spiritual surrealist, painter, and native New Mexican. She knows what she wanted. Has known what she's wanted to be an artist since she was 7 and has devoted herself to her craft. Her work has always been a vehicle of communication and connection. It is an evolution of her journey through navigating connection. And her process involves encompassing the beauty and simplistic repetition in nature on both the large and small scale, and examining it on a deeper level. She believes in involving her audience in her process as much as possible and paints live at every event, inviting connection and exposing herself to her process, creating an open and vulnerable dialogue. Caitlin is classically trained with a BFA in Fine Arts from the University of New Mexico. Her process involves encompassing the beauty and simplistic repetition in nature on both a large and small scale. She primarily works in oil paint. In 2020, while the world reeled and learned to navigate through the pandemic, her husband was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer. It set off an agonizing 2-year battle, which culminated in his passing in November of 2021. This journey forever changed her and her art. Caitlin is the winner of the New Mexico Entertains Award for Top Artist for 2023. And for more information about Caitlin, I will put that in the show notes below. So, Caitlin, can you tell us just a little about what you do?
I am an oil painter. I did acrylic painting for a long time, and then my business partner really kind of pushed me to a certain degree to go into oil painting just because of the nature of my work and kind of the aesthetic. And I absolutely love it. The style that I paint in is spiritual surrealism or metaphysical, which if you think about surrealism, that's Salvador Dali, that's Frida Kahlo, Rene Magritte, who's the dude in the bowler hat with clouds. And the spiritual aspect of it is just kind of that, the metaphysical, what is beyond us. It's not just weird things in weird environments, but there's a emotional story and connection. And I try to kind of open up the connections and the passageways to other worlds beyond our physical interactions. I do a lot of cosmic imagery, and this stuff behind me is mine. I've got a lot of skulls you can see up here, pinup girls. I really love detail. And behind you, there's a couple of them as well. I do a lot of goddess imagery and divine feminine, and that kind of connection, and the idea of vulnerability, and how to make true connections. We have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and allow other people to be vulnerable as well, to kind of meet people where they are and invite them to be as vulnerable as you. And through that, you create these more solid connections. You open yourself up. You create and embody more love. And that is truly powerful. So I really play a lot with the duality and the idea of vulnerability and power coexisting, and how that affects us, and how we can use that to just kind of grow love and have positive energy. I also have used it to process, and I think art in any form, music, dance, visual art, is one of the best therapies there is, to be able to process and work through things and express yourself and reflect on that is just so cathartic and therapeutic. So there you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I played around a little bit with art therapy during my healing. And it was more, I think for me, it was that connection to just channel my inner self with with the canvas in front of me. Um, but at the same time, I know my limitations and I love to support others' beautiful skills. Um, So, my husband and I have a passion for supporting entrepreneurs and small businesses. And when I opened my coaching practice, I knew that I wanted to continue with this passion and have been having fun supporting entrepreneurs in various ways, from sharing their stories and events, mentoring, attending their events, and buying from them. We've been very blessed, and we met Caitlin about 4+ years ago ish at a artist pop up at a local gallery. And her work and her style just immediately connected with me. And actually, my husband, this is one of his favorite pieces, and we have a larger print of it that the print does not do it justice, but at the same time, I'm blessed to have it here so we get to enjoy it. And we have many pieces of her work in our home. So we're blessed to own and display her pieces and set them up here at my studio. The pieces that are hanging here are pieces that I have for sale to support our local artist community. So make sure you come down and check out my gallery. So, Caitlin, can you share a little more about your journey and how it shaped your perspective and connection with relationships?
Yeah. It's really interesting because, as you said, I've known I wanted to be an artist since I was a kid. And that was one of the few things that I could sit and concentrate on and focus and just like get really into when I was younger. And it just gave me, like, I just have so much in my head and thinking about different things. And from a youngish age, when I was a teenager, and I think a lot of people go through this, like that first in your life crisis of identity, when, that's when you really start questioning, like, who am I? What do I want? What do I believe? And so I went through kind of a spiritual journey, as deep and spiritual as, a 17-year-old can get. And kind of just really tried to learn as about as many different spiritual practices and kind of religions. And that has continued. Of course, you can't learn everything about everything. And I
Uh-huh.
know that my understanding of that side of things in the world is um limited. So hopefully I can learn more and more. But as I got older and kind of really digging into my identity and finding myself, this kind of self-discovery or um, self-defining just kind of continued to come out through my art, whatever I was interested in or whatever part of this journey I was in. If I was learning about Tibetan arts, then, that influence started coming into my
Mhm.
artwork. In college, I got a minor in Spanish colonial art, which is a very specific thing,
Very
but it
specific.
just fascinated me. My heritage is Spanish colonial. My family, my mom or my dad's side, his family came over from Spain and to New Mexico, essentially. And the native cultures here were here when they came, and learning about that and my history, and then more and more, and learning and processing and coming to terms with, I am both a colonizer and a colonized. So that sort of internal thing and the different spiritual and religious practices of the native cultures here, and the Catholicism brought over from Spain, and the very specific way it has melded and grown from our culture here in New Mexico. And we have a very specific brand of spiritualism and Christianity and native practices. And so it's been really neat to find myself. And when my husband and I got together when we were 18, and you're very young when you're, and so we in essence grew up together, and we were able to figure out who we were, both he and I. And we were both very independent people. And something he always told me or said was, love is letting be. So going into something, when you love someone, whether that be your partner, your parent, your sibling, your children, your best friend, loving, sorry, that's my cat. He's gonna join us at some point. Um, Loving is letting be, that this is a whole other universe, this person, and they have their own internal stuff and their own journey and their own self-discovery. And if you can grow and be on not the same path necessarily, but on like adjacent paths,
Mhm.
so that you can be on your own journey, but still have your partner there with you, loving you, and you love them, and allowing them to figure out who they are and eventually make each other stronger. So that was really great to be able to have the support of a strong, loving partner who allowed me to be weird and be myself and experiment with different things. And not only my voice as an artist, but my how I want to present myself to the world. What is my most authentic self that I want to just exist and be as that person. And it was really awesome to be able to do that with someone who also was figuring that out. And something that was really interesting to me was that John knew who he was from a very early age, I think, and he somehow was able to walk that tightrope or have that balance of confidence and humility. And I made the mistake for many years early in our relationship to think that I was smarter than him. And he never did anything or said anything or acted in any way to prove me wrong or prove me right or whatever. He just continued being himself. And it wasn't until years in that I was like, oh man, wow, I'm a dink. He's brilliant and so passionate about the things that he did and so positive and such an optimist that it made it so easy to be passionate about what you were doing and really kind of see the potential in things. So I feel really, really grateful to have been able to have that partnership and journey and coexist with someone who, again, is a completely different universe, but somehow we figured out how to orbit each other and grow. So when he got sick, we also have a daughter who's 10 now. I can't believe she's in 5th grade. It's absolutely bonkers. But when he got sick, it was such a surreal, I mean, definitely, but such an opportunity to really go. I'm trying to figure out how to say it, but to push into how connected we were and to be able to have a partner that you can talk about anything, literally anything, and even mortality and that kind of thing, because it's inevitable. We all will die. And it's one of those strange things that often, especially in our culture, we ignore it. We're like, no, I don't want to talk about that. And so I think it was really intense, but John and I worked through processing what that means to us and how it would affect us and me and our daughter and dynamics and what the future would hold, not knowing anything. There was always, again, forever the optimist. He fought until the very, very end. And he really, really wanted to finish this. And he told me from the very beginning that his plan was to live to 100. And so him not being able to fulfill that, it's now my job. So, and I think that having the amazing, oh my God, my cat, I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Having the I'm the privilege, having the privilege of being able to have that and that relationship and that grounding and security and love has really, I know in my heart that that exists because I've had it, and I'm so epically grateful. So I know that it exists. I know that we can have that in life. And so moving forward with all of my relationships, I really try to just be present and communicative and grateful and show my love, because I think that that's why not? Like, it's, first of all, it's free. And secondly, like, it's just better. It's better to love and be happy and make those connections. And so I really feel like going into my relationships now, moving forward in the future, just to really try to be grounded and genuine and authentic, because man, there's nothing like a authentic connection with someone.
And I couldn't top that off any better. I'm so honored that I got to listen to how you described the beautiful relationship you have, because for me, when I got to Fort, I'm all teary up now. I didn't know this type of relationship was possible because I didn't have it in my previous relationships. Um, and I feel blessed and grateful that I have found that in another person and have gotten to experience that security, the love, the everything that he provides for me and gives to me, and that we get to have that communication that you talked about, that we can talk about anything and everything, including our mortality. And I know that when it gets to that point, that we'll be able to have that harder conversation. And that you guys had that time to have those conversations and to discuss the future, your daughter's future relationships. Most people don't get that blessing. And I wish I had gotten more time to get to know him. Um,
Yeah, I mean, again, I try to keep perspective, and because it's still devastatingly hard sometimes. And it's always present. It's kind of just, and it's never going to go away. Like, that grief and that loss and all of that is part of me. And I have to accept that it's part of me rather than push it away or ignore it or try to trick myself into thinking, oh, like, I'm over it, or I can move
yeah.
on, or I'm perfectly fine. Um, it's I'm going to be processing and feeling this for the rest of my life. But at the same time, I again feel blessed to have loved enough to now feel this. So, and again, moving forward, John and I talked about, you know, what we would want for each other. And ultimately, I know he wants me to be happy and live, and same for our daughter, and grow and love and deserve to be loved. And it's really interesting moving forward. Again, we have such a strange relationship with grief in America. And one of the most common things that I've heard from people is everybody grieves differently. There's no right way to grieve. Um, you'll process things at whatever time and move as fast or as slow as you need to, which is great. And I've had an amazing support group and amazing people in my life who I've been able to lean on and get advice and cry and all this sort of stuff. So it's strange though, because there are kind of social norms to a certain degree. And I went to Spirit, the Halloween shop this
Uh-huh.
week, looking for Halloween stuff. And there's one of those big lawn things, like the animatronic thing, and it's called the Widow. And it's this like crazed, like bloodshot eyes, like woman who is laughing crazily and her neck is broken and stuff. And it was hilarious. I took a picture of it and I said to my daughter, I'm like, should I be this for Halloween? Is this how a widow is supposed to be? And she laughed and she said, only when you're angry. So I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. But moving forward and stuff, I'm um 43. I lost John when I was 41, I think. And so I'm still young and I have a young daughter who I need to be there for and be a complete human for her and for myself. And so part of the healing process and being able to move on and move forward and accepting my life and what has happened is to be able to be open to love again and to building more relationships and having that intimacy, because love and intimacy and partnership and like all of that stuff is the most addictive drug ever. And if you have felt that and have known that, you know it's possible. And so you know that exists out there, and gosh, love is great. And so I actually met an amazing, wonderful man who has come into both mine and my daughter's lives as a just loving, caring, patient, helpful, supportive, amazing man. His name is Joshua, and he's a musician and he's an artist and he has a great mustache.
He does.
And so to have him be a presence in our life, one of the things that I realized that I need in my life is like chill male energy. And so having that and having that love and intimacy is just so healing. So
It is. And we have witnessed it from the outside. And I've gotten the pleasure of getting to know him and getting to meet him and your daughter. And that was really important for me. And I appreciate you including us in your birthday and getting to be in your home and your energy. And it's just beautiful. So I appreciate you.
thank you. Yeah, it was lots of fun. I'm really glad you guys could make it.
So, vulnerability plays a significant role in the artistic process for sure, because I think it plays a significant role in everything we do. How do you navigate your vulnerability and exposing yourself and the process and for your audience, like in your images, actually, and being like set up to where you're doing your painting while you're out at pop-ups?
I think for me, honestly, there's an air of exhibitionism. And I don't know exactly to what degree or what the exact want or need or fulfillment, but there is. And I have a performative aspect. I like to present, and I think that in order to be vulnerable, we have to be able to share parts of ourselves that maybe make us uncomfortable. And so one of the things for me is my process and moving through that. And my artwork and my art practice is very personal and solitary, but not like in a bad way. It's the one thing I think in my life that has always been just mine. It's where I am within myself and have the opportunity to invite people into me and show them to a certain degree, as much as one can on a
Sure.
two-dimensional canvas with conventional methods, and but show them what is inside me to kind of present that. And um in the process of creating art, there's always like an ugly phase to a certain degree. You have this idea in your head and you want to get it out. And like if you're creating a song as a musician, you can hear it to a certain degree. If you are painting or creating visual art, you can see your objective to a certain degree. And working that out, and maybe you only see part of it and you have to get that part out before the next part comes. And so it's like this whole kind of working it out in your brain as it's coming out on the canvas. And sometimes it, of course, this does not look anything like it's going to look, like it's going to be done. And I didn't think anybody was interested in that for a long time. I didn't think that process was something that anybody cared about. I knew that it didn't look like it was going to look like when it was finished. So why even show them? Because plus it wasn't as good as it would be as a finished product. So there was a part of it that was like, oh God, if they see this and they think it's done and they're like, oh gosh, this is crap. Like that whole thing. And the idea of self-consciousness and acceptance. And at a certain point, I was like, I don't care. This is me and what I'm doing and what I want to be doing and how I'm interpreting it and how I'm showing. And also many people love the process. So I was
I do.
like, yeah. And so it's this evolution and it's a developing conversation. And it is that window and that vulnerability. If I can be vulnerable enough and accepting of myself enough and not caring what anybody else thinks, but not have it decide my worth. If I can be that open and able to expose myself essentially, then it invites other people to be able to be in that safe space. And it's like, well, if she can do it, maybe I can, sort of thing.
Absolutely. And I have really enjoyed the process and watching you probably over the last year and a half, when you like came and set up at my pop-up and I got to see the piece you were working at as you were starting it. And then at each little pop-up along the way, I've got to see it grow and develop and change and morph. And I think it's the process that I've enjoyed the most. I mean, the finished product, believe me, is amazing. Um, but I've also seen similar pieces when I got to go to your house and see similar pieces, but see the differences, and I could feel different things from each picture. From I
Nice.
could see different, feel different pieces of you.
That's really
Um,
cool. Success.
I've really personally, I've just really enjoyed watching the process with you. And it did also, when I was doing my little art therapy journey, um, I think I specifically had a couple of pictures of yours sitting in front of me, and I was like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can learn how to do this. I mean, if anything, because it's not a natural talent for me.
Mm.
Um, but
I
I'm
I really think that natural talent this is something that's like a debate in the world, apparently. But I think that their natural talent does exist to the degree that some things for people just they understand a little better. And like people who are just like amazing at math, or people who can look at a car and be like, I know exactly what's wrong with it. And so I do think that the proclivity and the natural inclination towards something and being able to pick up on it does exist, but I think that that only gets you so far. I think that passion, practice, and skill are they outweigh just natural talent alone. But I also think that only practice and developing a skill only gets you so far, because without the passion and the ability to learn and try different things, I think that also falls short. So I think it's but you can do so much with just practice and developing a skill. Like so much art ends up being muscle memory to a certain degree. You know, you get those 10,000 hours in, and I'm sure you've seen videos of people who do like 3 strokes and it's like the perfect silhouette of a face.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they've practiced that. They have drawn 15,000 faces. So anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no, that says a lot. Um, can you share any memorable experience or moment where you witnessed the power of your connection to another person through that dialogue of painting?
Um, it's it's happened frequently, which was again something that was really surprising to me, because not only did I have to get over the fact that like, okay, people actually want to watch the process, like even if it's just watching, because it's like Bob Ross. You can watch Bob Ross paint and that's super cool and relaxing. And but the when someone comes over and sees what I'm doing and is like, oh my gosh, is that an octopus? Ah, I just found out. I actually remember this wasn't that long ago. It was in April, and I was painting an octopus at a market. And this woman came up and she was like, oh my gosh, just yesterday I went to a reader and I found out that my spirit animal is an octopus. And it was amazing. And she started talking to me about an octopus. A lot of people connect with. I paint a
Uh-huh.
lot of octopus. And so having that conversation, people are so excited to talk about octopus. And so she started talking to me about how fascinated she is. And as soon as she learned that, she started doing research. And then she spent like 15, 20 minutes going through my prints. And because I have about 6 to 8 different
Mm-hmm.
octopus that I've done. And so she was going through it and trying to pick like the right one that she connected the most with. And it was just really cool to have that conversation. And we totally nerded out about octopus. And she ended up getting 2 different octopus prints. So that was really cool. And I felt after she left, like that's just such such a neat connection that you can have with someone that I had never met before. And I have no idea if I will see her again. And just to be able to have that we were in each other's lives in person for 45 minutes, but we ended up having this like moment and profound connection. And that happens a lot at these markets and stuff, when I've been working on something, or someone will find a print that really, or a piece that really resonates with them. I did a series of ballerinas, and a frequent well more than a couple times. I've had people connect with them, with the ballerinas, because of, there was this woman whose daughter was a ballerina, and she remembered her growing up and all of the recitals and just how proud she was of her. So she bought this triptych where I had framed 3 of the ballerinas together
Mhm.
and gave it to her daughter who was moving away. And it was just, it's really neat to have those moments that like people can relate to, or that it is something personal to them, that maybe they just needed an opportunity to share and to get a story out and to connect, because I think that's another thing with that connection, and with our discussion about grief, is that we want to share with each other. We want to be heard. We want to be validated, and we want to be able to empathize with each other, even if we've never experienced empathy for ourselves. I think that's a very base level human thing, that we want to have people empathize with us and feel where we're coming from and understand our perspectives. And we do want to understand each other, and we want to know how someone feels and comes and connects with us. So I just thoroughly enjoy those moments. It's become more and more often, more frequent, that I actually don't get a whole lot of painting done at markets,
Because you're
because
having those connections.
yeah, because I stop and I talk to people and I connect with people. And one, I don't do this a whole lot anymore, but when I was at the downtown growers market and the rail yards a lot, I actually had, when like a little kid would come up and just like their excitement about seeing someone paint. I have had little kids like paint a couple strokes on a piece I'm working on, and they just like were so excited to do that.
It's beautiful that you can share that, and cherish it at the same time. Just kind of sit back and look at the excitement on their face, and provide a door or an avenue for them to then see the potential or see the possibility, um, and the excitement, just the pure excitement. And for us, I mean, your stuff is displayed throughout our home, and we've been part of that goes to my husband and his support of me and letting me just be myself, like 100% myself, my home, my office, it's all me. Um, where before my home was my children and what they were into, and my ex and what he was into, but the things that I collected, they were more guilt gifts than
Mm,
they were gifts that brought me pleasure and joy. And so to have somebody support me and let me be fully into myself and whatever that is, um, and people are always a little bit curious, with some of the pieces that I have throughout my entire house. Like, well, you have a grandson and he's 6. And I said, and the female body is a beautiful thing. And he has 2 mothers. So
yeah,
he's not going to learn it from them, and he's not going to see the beauty and learn how to appreciate the beauty of a woman's body. He's going to learn it in my house, because I don't want shame. I don't want judgment. I want curiosity and, being authentic. And so, we love your pieces, and we proudly display them and love them, and they bring us lots of joy and happiness.
thank you. That's super awesome. And there are a few people who have my artwork, and it's amazing that I've been able to create these connections with you and your husband, with Jeannie and Dave and my friend Janine. And it's so strange because technically it's like you're a patron, but you're my friend. And like that crossover of like knowing that my artwork is with you makes it so much easier to be like, to let it go. And because they are a part of me. Each one of my pieces is a part of me. And for a long time when I was younger, I went through that whole artist thing about like, well, it's my soul. I can't get rid of it. And only I will only sell it for $1 million because it's that important to me. And it's like, ultimately, that's really selfish to a certain degree, because who am I creating it for? If this is just an exercise in ego, then I can do something else for a profession. I don't need to try to sell it or make a living out of it or get it out to the world. But it is one of those things that once you put it out there in the world, you don't know how it's going to be received. And so someone could think it's aesthetically pleasing but have no connection to it, or they could, whatever it is. And most of the time I don't know anything other than having these short but meaningful conversations with someone about octopus. I have no idea what's happening now with that piece. But again, knowing that you have one of my art babies, and to know that it's in such a loving and positive, energetic place and space, and that you like it's building more of that positive energy just in it. So that's
And
really
it
sweet.
is. And one of these days I have a big plan of getting our little artist group together, you and Jen and Victor, and having you over to our home so that you can actually see how much we love and appreciate it. It's
Oh,
like for me,
nice.
once a month when I'm doing my deep dusting, that's my art day. And each piece in my home gets love on that day. It gets to remind me of how I got it, what happened that day, what the conversation was, um, and just how much I enjoy it. And I enjoy the company and I enjoy the connection, and everything I've met with you guys and within this community has been such a blessing. So I need to get working on that plan and have you
Yeah.
all together. And
Yeah, it is really interesting also to see how you display it and curate it with me and Jen and Victor, and like just like that, and what aspects of all three of our pieces are you highlighting and stuff like that. I have a Jen and Victor wall here at my home, and that's one of the things that I've actually been doing more of. Um, is trying to replace all the art that's on my walls with with my peers and my friends' art, and all of that, because not that I'm sick of looking at my own artwork, but I would much rather have my walls covered with my community and have that love and energy circulating. Plus I need to sell everything. So
okay. Good to know. Let's go back a little bit more into like your process. How does spirituality influence your artwork? You talked a little bit about it, and like the different aspects you take of the galaxies and
Mhm.
spirituality and religion, and I'm just all of that.
Well, I think that of course, like it for humanity, for us, the ultimate question is, and those big questions like why are we here? What are we doing here? if we are impermanent as this, what, if anything, is beyond this, is after this? And I've always had this sense that there is something else. There's got to be. The universe is vast, and we can't even see the full spectrum of color and light. So it exists out there and we can't perceive it. So what else is out there that we can't perceive? And the replication, and you said this in the intro, the fractal like nature of the universe and the connection and repetition of patterns and geometry and connections on a macro and micro scale. The golden spiral is one of those that's everywhere, and going into sacred geometry and this idea of connection and geometry and math and physics and chemicals and spirituality and connection, because you look at a flower and it doesn't immediately, like, you don't think, oh, well, that's geometrically blah. You see its beauty and you see this connection to it. And so exploring into that is just fascinating to me. And I know that I will never understand it, at least in this form. There is absolutely no way that this is able to process
All of that.
all of that. And there throughout history, the way that we've gravitated and answered those questions is through religion. And there are so many different religions and different ways that people have addressed this and thought about it and feel it and ascribe things to it. And for the most part, most monotheistic religions have a very similar core, and this numerous stories and beliefs and deities that overlap and coincide, and there are these common themes. And then Eastern religions have a different take on it, and the understanding of the soul and what happens outside of this environment and this reality. And just it's fascinating how humans have tackled or asked these questions. And to my knowledge and my understanding, we have not, as a species, reached a consensus. And so I don't subscribe to a specific organized religion, because I don't think that any one is 100% correct. But I think that there's positive things and there's clues, and there's each one kind of touches on a different thing and adds something more to this giant, fascinating puzzle and different little tidbits of understanding. And so I think that using iconography and using these kind of spiritual markers that we are familiar with and that we have throughout history kind of used as symbols and stuff is really helpful to a certain degree. Like, we all know the Christian iconography of like a halo. And again, going back to Spanish colonial art and like depictions of gods and saints, and this idea of light and divinity, that again, if you look at Eastern religions and this idea of light and divinity and sun gods and energy circulating and chakras. And so there are these themes that are very universal, but we just have different names for them or talk about them differently
Mhm.
or have ascribed them a different look. And incorporating all of those things, I think, just creates more connection and goes into these ideas of otherworldliness or something beyond our physical presence and our corporeal beings and our tiny little brains with their neurons firing. It transcends that into this completely other realm where anything is possible and people can heal and talk to gods and our gods, and just that generational energy that passes down through the linear passage of time. And then that gets all into time space time and time travel and
Mhm.
physics, and um how those things are still all related. And I think that in the past, I think magic exists. But in the past, we're coming to think magic has been used to describe science that we just haven't explained yet. And so many of the things that we have thought in the past were like a miracle are explainable through science, but I think doesn't make them any less profound.
Mhm.
The fact that two molecules react to each other in this way because of something we can observe in this physical, observable way doesn't mean that there's not something greater at force there creating this force. And like magnetism, why isn't magnetism is magic? And so kind of using both of those sides of things to explore what is happening, and the idea of entropy and order and this push for the universe to go towards chaos and then come back to order and this balance.
Mhm.
It's just, it makes me feel like the universe like breathing, and like this balance between chaos and order. So
That is a great way to explain it. It really is. I'd love it if you could talk a little about this piece. I want to take it down and kind of bring it a little closer so people can get a better shot of it, because it is just such a powerful piece. Um, let's see if I can bring it so people can see.
yeah, it's a human figure reaching out through space and this, other realm, and they are veiled to a certain degree, and just this kind of, because it's not a specific person, it's more of a universal being. And I created this when my husband was going through cancer treatment, and we were really processing, and all of the things and the ways that I had felt about spirituality and the universe coming in and butting up against like this very real heartbreak and tragedy and trauma, and facing mortality, and just this kind of, where do you go and how can I reconcile this? Because I think prior to this, my work was not more positive, but maybe a little more naive in a sense, um, because I very much was focusing on the creation, expansion aspect of stuff with my goddess imagery, and growth and beauty and fertility and divineness in that regard. And while this was all happening and facing, the very big reality of my life imploding and having to deal with grief and loss in a profound way that I never have in my life, just really kind of opened me up to like different avenues and going into unexplored spaces. Like, I'm trying to think if I have, let me, real quick. This behind me is a piece that I did while John was getting treatment. And this is his skeleton. And the blue here is what he had replaced with a prosthesis, the first surgery. And this is very loose, very splattery. This was all done with a palette knife. And it was very, very manic and emotional, and which is not at all what my work had been previously. And I will go grab one. I was not prepared. This is a smaller piece. And this is actually more recent because I've gotten back into incorporating this, but this is more, and I do
Wow.
pieces of this. So this kind of detail, you can see the size of it and the detailing that I go into her face and her hands. Like that detailing and that focus and that calm that I would get into while doing it is something that I've done for years and years. And that was just really where it would be meditative and getting into flow state. And during all of this, I wasn't in that space at all. I couldn't focus. Detailing was not something, my whole body was vibrating and anxious. And so I started doing more raw stuff. And up here, the difference between a detailed, beautiful pinup and this is all palette knife behind me, and then these fiery eyes and that emotion. And so dealing with this idea of mortality and the beyond and what happens, and the fact that it doesn't have to be the most scary thing because it's inevitable. And so this piece behind you is more about acceptance and an invitation to be beyond yourself. And this idea that there's life, there's death, there's this plane of existence, there's that plane of existence. And I did a few pieces that really went into the death aspect of it. I did a Grim Reaper that was really, really emotionally hard because I didn't exactly know what it was when I started it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to me and I knew what it needed to be and I knew what it meant. Like that was really when it became apparent where all of this was going and that John probably wasn't going to make it. And I didn't want to finish it because it felt final. Like, but I did, and I'm really proud of it. And I really, really think that it helped me confront that. And so that being like one of the hardest things, then coming out of that and being like, okay, I could do that. I faced that and it's not as scary. So again, this piece behind you is more about that calmness to a certain degree, that acceptance and that invitation.
And that, yeah, I think that's what spoke to me about it, with knowing what you were going through, what you were painting, seeing the changes in what you were painting and feeling your emotions and your vulnerability and your pain and your love in all of it. Um,
Thank you. It again, it's one of those things like grief. It's a ongoing process, and the best analogy I can use is that it's waves. It comes in waves, and sometimes those waves are like tough. Sometimes they're little waves where you hear a song on the radio and you are sad for 10-15 minutes and you cry a minute and then you're like, okay. And then there are waves that crash you against the rocks and all you can do is hang on until it subsides, but you have to ride that wave. Trying to fight it, I found, and I know many people who have gone through a similar thing to and fighting it and ignoring it or trying to push it away does not work because it is there. It is always there, and the only way is through. So it sucks. But I hope that it is helping me heal and helping me move forward in the best or most positive way, so that I can continue to be a whole person living and becoming a better person, because that's ultimately, if this is as good as I get, I need like we're always a work in progress. I can
always.
always be a better person, and it's really, really hard to level up, and growth is agonizing, but without growth, we die. So we got to do it.
And thank you so much for sharing all of that, because I know that your story will also help someone else, to
I
see
hope so.
that light, um, and that possibility, and that we all know that we all have to work through those things, but sometimes it takes seeing somebody else for us to give ourselves permission, for us to give ourselves hope. Sometimes that darkness is just overwhelming, and hope and light, and um, so if sharing your story helps give that to others, I thank you so much for your vulnerability.
Thank you. And I hope that, I hope that you're right. I hope that just being open and trying to be as authentic as I can and vulnerable, if anything, it allows other people to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, because I think that that's again how we create true connection is through that vulnerability and that power.
Absolutely. So, what advice would you give to aspiring artists who want to create that meaningful connection through their artwork and to embrace their vulnerability?
uh Find something you're passionate about. Make you first of all, you have to be open and vulnerable with yourself. And I think that so frequently we get caught up with fearing that our true selves will not be accepted, or that we're weird or isolated or nobody will ever understand. And there's an element of not accepting yourself. And there's this term radical acceptance, which I am trying. I am on that road, hopefully, but it's accepting, it's giving yourself unconditional love and accepting yourself and all of your quirks and what you perceive as being flaws as actually being part of the intricate nuanced tapestry that makes you up. So if you are an artist, most of the time, and this isn't true for anybody, where no one is a homogenous group, but we have this need to share with others. And so if you find that something that you're passionate about, I think that naturally will open up more connections, because if you're passionate and authentic about something, you will find the other people who are also passionate and authentic about that thing. And be willing to make mistakes. Know your worth, because if you don't know your worth, somebody else will give you worth. And you don't want that. Learn to take rejection, because art is completely subjective and one of the only things that basically is opinion based. And we don't all like the same stuff. It's just, it would be incredibly boring if we did.
Mm-hmm.
But because we are so intricate and individual, there are people that like the same things that you do. And if you can find those people, it makes it so much more fulfilling. But again, you won't get into all of the markets you apply for, all of the galleries you apply for. Someone will come to you and be like, that is not art. Or why would you pay that for that? And that is them. That is not you. That does not, just because they don't want your art doesn't mean your art's no good. It means they don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
So learning to have that resilience and being able to hold on to your worth and know that and have that grounding in yourself. But again, don't be a cocky ass. Nobody likes that either. So, having humility and understanding that you are human and incorporating that you will make mistakes, and that's okay. It's a mistake is an opportunity for growth. And definitely take a business class, because a business and marketing class, that if you want to be a professional artist, if you don't have inexorbitant amounts of money and can just do this for fun, you need to know how to do the business side of it, and you need to know how to incorporate that and do it in a healthy way, so that you can balance creating with income, because it's incredibly easy to slip into either side of those things. And often when you get really into the business aspects, you neglect your creativity, and then you feel like crap. And vice versa, if and it's wonderful to be in that creative space and be able to be prolific and passionate and create, but then you end up being a starving artist busking on the side of the street for change. And having no money is very stressful as well. So having that at least foundation of business understanding, I wish that was a requirement for my degree when I went to school. I hope that it is now, and because things have shifted a lot since I was in school. And many, many more artists are going more the professional, independent entrepreneur route. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
we have that because so many of us have no idea what we're doing. And it has been a steep learning curve for me to wrap my artist brain around the business aspects without that training and foundation. I've had to seek it out myself, which I would have been much better if someone said, you won't graduate until you take these classes. And so I took them. So
Man, thank you for hitting on all of those. Those are wonderful tips. And some that I want to touch on. When I first moved into my studio space and did the gallery walls, and started reaching out to you guys about hanging some of your art in my space, I had a girl that I went to high school with reach out to me from my website where I posted information about having gallery walls for artists. And she says, my daughter is an amazing artist. She has tons of work, but she has no idea where to start, like how to start.
I know who this is and I remember this. And
Yes.
it's
And
such a great experience.
it was for me, it was for her. I got to put her in contact with you guys. You got to talk to her about, you know, um, working at pop-ups, about how to, and it goes to that know your value. Um, and I was talking to her about what I learned from you guys, naming your art. Then how do you price your art? I couldn't advise her on those things because I didn't have personal experience, but I have this wonderful community of these wonderful people who are more than willing to talk about and to teach and to show, um and so she got to learn, and now it's like night and day, from this young girl who came in very shy with a couple of pieces to watching every day the stuff that she's creating and selling, and being able to afford things for her kids, and not be that starving artist. But I remember, her having a period where she was doing a lot of stuff with spray paint, and the cost of the spray paint was just so far almost out of her reach, as the prices are just going up on everything.
Yeah.
Um, was how did she continue to be able to make this art that people wanted? And so then it was talking to her about commissioned work. And again, you guys were all so wonderful in the community about helping another artist grow. And I have a new lady who just moved here from Denver. And they were living in Denver because they loved the artist community in Denver. And now she's here. And they'd only been here a couple of months. She came to my Thursday women's circle, and we got the benefit of an evening that it was just her and I on her first evening, and so we really got to sit down and get to know each other, um, and learning that art is her thing and a passion and an interest. I was like, oh man, let me get you started. Like, it was coming up on the last art walk. Um, and then this past art walk, she actually hung a piece at Off Center.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so that was her stepping out of her comfort zone and getting involved in the community and hanging her piece of art. And then we all went down and supported her. We
Yeah.
got to be there for her. And that's been my draw to wanting to work with other entrepreneurs, is to be able to share in what I see in them, and being able for them to share their craft, and working together to get it out to a bigger audience, um, but also to continue to help new people coming up in being artists or in the community, or learning about what our beautiful city has to offer. um, and then it followed up, 2 weeks later, I've got another new lady who just moved here, who's only been here a few weeks. So it's so nice to be able to share my passion for my city and where I grew up, but also to be at a point in my life where I'm living my passion. I get to
Yeah.
express my passion, and I get to share my passion with others. is so different from being in a career that was an obligation to make money to support my family, to now being at a point where it's a passion that I get to live every day, and I get to
Yeah.
be excited when I get up. And so it's
Yeah,
all
it's
wonderful.
amazing that I really think that people don't understand or believe that you can have that. I think that we have been taught for quite a while. I don't know if it's a generation, like how long it's been going on, but here especially, we've been misinformed that work is purely about earning money, and that is why you work, and work is pain, and no one likes their job, and you should in fact not like your job, because that's just how what work is, and your passions and what you enjoy doing is, and anything pleasurable is, secondary to that. And we've lost sight of the fact that those things are not mutually exclusive, and they are congruent. And finding something that you love doing and are passionate about, and being able to make a living at it, is possible and is good and will make you happy, and you can do it, and you don't have to feel guilty about it, and you don't have to sacrifice. You will have to change things, and you will have to grow, because that's not a prevalent idea here
Mm-hmm.
in the States and in capitalism, but it's possible, and it's more fulfilling, and work doesn't have to be painful. Work and passion can be the same thing. So, and also,
Absolutely.
I wanted to say, just to touch on what you were saying about community and how important that is, and how I absolutely, watching the art and creator and creative community grow here in town in the last almost decade now. I would say I started my business and started really kind of getting going at the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. And just the difference between the community then and the community now, and the level of engagement and how much bigger and more supportive it has gotten, is just, it's amazing to me that how awesome it is. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear, I'm getting a bunch of text messages.
Nope, can't hear it. We're good.
So but yeah, and just being able to have those connections in the community and support each other, and seeing that, and just loving it. And I want to support my community, and buy their artwork, buy their soaps, buy their take their classes, experience and grow. Because if we were not competition, we're community.
Our
If one of
community.
us does well, it only serves to help the other ones do well. So lifting each other up and strengthening that community is so awesome. And it's amazing to see a story like that, and to see this artist who really was not familiar, and like not really know what direction she wanted to go in, and not know what the next step was, and to be able to have a community that can guide and say, like, we support you, here are things that we have learned and tools that serve us well, take this benefit and see if they work for you.
And thank you, because that really kind of puts in a big basket how everything I've been building and growing over the last 2 years, that's the purpose. Like I want to, and thank you for being part of my positive impact community, because that's the goal. I want to be able to put people together so that they make connections so that we can grow together. And it is absolutely not about competition. I love spending time with other coaches because even though we may have similar education, there's even two ladies that went to the same school that I went to after I did, that we came together for a live event. Um, and even though, like I said, we have the same piece of paper that says we both have the same, or all three of us have the same credentialing, our stories are so completely different, and the people that we serve are so completely different. So I want to be able to help get their stories into the hands of the people who need their help.
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, they don't need my help. It's they do need my help to put them in contact with the right people, because
Yeah.
I want to save people time and energy and um, provide opportunity. So, it all
Yeah. And
comes.
connecting people who vibe is just as cool as connecting someone with someone you vibe with. Like if I can connect someone with my artist friends' work, like seeing someone see Jen DeSantis, Lady Jen D, her work, and have them be like, whoa, like it makes me so happy to be like, yes, you guys, like you're vibing, and it's really cool to see that, and really amazing, because if I can in any way be involved with someone having the opportunity to connect with something and fall in love with a piece of art, whether or not it's mine, it's amazing. That's what it's all about.
And I've really enjoyed watching, like, the three of you working together in the same space at Mothership Alumni, and both set up and both sharing all of those skills and talents and blessing so many people. Um, and I just love it. I love to know that when I go down to Art Walk, I hopefully will get to see all of you either in the same location or spread out in our little downtown. But I know that I'm going to get to see you and spend time with you and find a new piece of art that I have to have.
Yay.
So are there any upcoming projects or collaborations that you're got coming up?
Yeah, actually, I've got the end of the year suddenly got really busy for me. I have um I'm trying to think of what the first one in order. November 3rd, which is First Friday, I have a couple of things up at OT Circus for Art Walk this week, first Friday, or this month, first Friday. Um, oh, the first thing that's coming up, I'm sorry, this Saturday, the 28th, October 28th, at Blackwall Gallery, which is on San Mateo and Indian School there's a nice parking lot, and we're gonna have an outdoor market. And I can't remember what the name of it. It's like Spooktacular Halloween Market. I have forgotten. But that's going on. The whole thing is from noon to 10. 12 to 6 is going to be the market, and that's an all ages thing. And there's going to be trunk or treats happening. And then after that is 18 and up. And then I think later after 8, I think is 21 and up. But there's going
Oh,
to be music, food truck, vendors, art, dancing. Blackwall Gallery is wonderful, and they have really just opened up to markets and really getting involved this last year, and it's been awesome to see how quickly they've grown, and it's really cool. So that's happening on the 28th. November 3rd, I have stuff up at OT Circus. November 8th, which is a Wednesday, I'm going to be emceeing a variety show, which I've never done before. And I'm going to have some artwork there. I don't think I'm going to be live painting because I'm emceeing. And it's a variety show at Tractor Brewing, not the one in Nob Hill. I don't remember what the location.
like Wells Park
Yes,
downtown?
Wells Park. So that's happening on the 8th. And then there is something else Thanksgiving weekend. I will be at the New Mexico Artisan Market, which is at Hotel Albuquerque. It's a 3-day market. Black Friday is always a good day to go shopping. But that Saturday is tax-free Small Business Saturday.
Oh,
And then it will
okay.
also be happening on Sunday. I will have original work, prints, cards, framed prints, which are really neat. Some of them are really small that you can use for stocking stuffers. And so that's my November, bunch of stuff happening. And then I will be doing a few holiday markets. The weekend of the 9th is the ABQ Collective Market, which is up there on Eubank.
Right by me.
And that weekend also is the Rail Yards, downtown Growers Market, Rail Yards Holiday Market. And then the 28th, it's the weekend between Christmas and New
Christmas and New
Year.
Year's. Okay.
I will be at the Orpheum Community Hub for a holiday-esque market, like the after Christmas market. So, and all of these places will have vendors and food trucks and music and entertainment and all sorts of fun stuff.
Wow, you are going to be a busy, busy lady.
Yeah, it all kind of, because I didn't really do a lot of markets at the beginning of this year, and towards the end of summer, I just really realized I miss it a lot. And I actually do really well at markets, and so losing that income has really kind of impacted me. So I'm hoping to get out there and make some sales and make some connections, and it'll be cool.
Great. I will do my best to include all of those dates in the show notes so people will know where they can find you. I definitely want to go check out Blackwall Gallery because we have not been there yet. I love OT. It's a wonderful gallery. Always really, really good pop-up events. Um, and I've been to a few different things at Tractor. I used to go and watch, what was it called? Where artists would like collaborative art. So they would put up like 4 panels on a wall and you'd have different artists and they would draw for so long and then they would switch to the next panel.
Wow.
And at the end of the evening, then they would auction off those pieces and you could, buy raffle tickets and try to win that piece. But it was always just so amazing to watch each creative as
Like,
they
yeah,
would walk
adding
up.
their stuff in the
Yeah.
evolution of it.
And I loved being able to go to do that at breweries and just sit and again, just be in community with artists and watch these beautiful pieces come together and just to see the joy of the people when they would leave at the end of the night with their piece in hand that they won. It's such an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So I will include all of those things. And of course, I will definitely catch you when you're up here at the holiday market at the Collective because it's right by my house. It's one of my favorite places that I adopted as soon as they opened because of just like the overall feeling at the Collective and what they do to support the local art community. And their backyard markets are always a lot of fun, weather permitting. Um, but
Yeah.
it's a really great place. And I have met so many artists there that I've bought in like 1 or 2 pieces, and then I'll meet them again at another one and another one and another one. And I just love it. I love building those relationships.
Yeah. It's really cool, and seeing the different venues and like getting to know your friends and kind of the circuit that they do, and the different markets that you both connect with and show up to all the time. It's really fun.
Yeah, and introducing like different artists that are set up in a pop-up that I know both of them personally and grab one and take them over and introduce them to the other one. And um,
Right.
to me, that's a lot of fun and watching them have their conversations and grow and then see down the way when I share out something that they remember meeting that person because of me. And it's just
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful connection. Before we tell people where they can find you, I'd like to just touch a little bit on what it means to support an entrepreneur. Supporting an entrepreneur can include a lot of different things. It can include buying from them. One of the most impactful ways to support an entrepreneur is to buy from their business, whether it's a product or service. Your purchase can help boost their revenue and help them grow their business. Share their stories. You know, a lot of us are out there on social media, and it doesn't cost anything to support another entrepreneur or a friend's business. It's free, and word of mouth is what helps us grow.
Definitely.
Um, Mentorship. You talked a lot about mentorship and helping new artists that are in the community just kind of learn the tips and things that you've learned along the way. I think is so valuable because it's hard getting started, especially in a new city where you're brand new. You don't know what the community is like, and you guys are always so wonderful. Attend their events. Supporting an entrepreneur goes beyond buying their products and services. Um, Attend their events, show up for product launches, go to networking events, and just show your support. It means the world.
Definitely. All of those things are wonderful. I think that in this day and age, um, of course, like supporting them by buying their stuff is wonderful, but one of the biggest impactful things you can do is cross promotion, is share their stuff and get it out to more people, because that is huge. That is how we live and schedule by social media, and how we encounter things, and being sharing those things and letting everyone know where your friends are, where they're going to be, is huge.
Absolutely. So tell us where people can find you.
You can find me at my website, which is caitlinpadilla.com, CAITLINPADILLA.com, or on Instagram, Facebook. I was on Twitter, but we don't like X anymore. And I am at Katie the Painter, CAITIE the Painter. So there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll make sure to include all of that information so people will know how they can get a hold of you to look at all of your wonderful pieces that you display on your website, stuff that you're currently working on and sharing, progress photos, and where you're going to be. You know, thank you so much, Caitlin. Thank you for this time. It was such a pleasure. You and I usually don't get a whole lot of one-on-one, especially this amount of time, so I really appreciate it. I always learn something new about you, and I love that, and I love our connection. Um,
Thank you so much, Leanne. This is wonderful. And it's been really, really awesome and awe-inspiring to see you and your business and your growth, and just like exploding into all of this stuff, and knowing your story and knowing that this came from a dream is just spectacular.
Thank you so much. So if you enjoyed this interview, please make sure you like and subscribe my YouTube channel, Finding Resilience with Leanne. Happiness on Tap podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Audible. For more information on me, please check out my website at findingresiliencewithleanne.com, and be sure to subscribe to my email tribe to receive exclusive promotions, new products, hear about upcoming wonderful podcast guests, and to find where you can find all these people and go out and support them and learn more about our lovely city. You can also find me on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So again, I want to thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate your time. I love spending time with you, and I look forward to seeing you. I'm sure we'll catch you here shortly at some events.
Yeah, yeah. Hope to see you there. It's always wonderful when I bump into you at events.
Thank you so much, hon. You have a wonderful afternoon.
You too.
Take care.